about the truth. It's about a conflict thing. So you never really get, because sometimes you think that one person there is the story. Let them just tell it. But then no, because you need conflict, you need to go to the other side now.
Well, isn't conflict an essence of an essential part of story? I mean, they always say, don't they, in the books, that if you don't have conflict, you're not going to story.
I mean, yeah, they do, but interestingly, is it always?
I don't think so. I think that's something that we're told. It comes from Aristotle, that Western classical idea that conflict, produces catharsis and revelation. The film that I've just made in Iraq, it's 80 minutes long. There's no conflict. There's a story, but there's absolutely no conflict. So I'm not sure. I'm skeptical of that. I know that's what we're taught. That's what
I mean, I'd love there to be a way to tell stories where you didn't always have to find conflict.
Can I tell you a story briefly, which I think might be another clip that I could show David? And it's also getting back to this question of reality. And the first clip, this Japanese thing says reality is basically hidden, and you have to blast it out. I think the next story I'd like to mention is one that shows that reality is just so unpredictable, and if you're a news journalist or if you're a filmmaker or whatever, you have to be open to that unpredictability. So there's this great Iranian filmmaker called Mohsen Makhmalbaf. He was a student radical in the 70s, and he fought passionately for the revolution, a real hothead, and he tried to stab a policeman at the age of 17. He was imprisoned for the stabbing and was in prison for 10 years. After being released in prison, he read loads of books, he educated himself. He was released from prison, he became a filmmaker, one of the world's great filmmakers, and acclaimed, prizes, everything. He published in a newspaper a casting call for his new film. This was in 1995. He says, please come along to a casting call, and I want to make my new film. One of the people who turned up was the policeman he tried to stab all those years ago, and he said, I recognise you. And the guy said, yeah, I'm the guy you tried to stab. And he said, what are you doing here? And he said, well, policeman's no life, I want to be an actor. And this is where the genius of Makhmalbaf comes in. He said immediately, right, I want to completely abandon the film I was planning to make, the casting call, because this is far more exciting. So what he did to the policeman, he said, here's a camera. You tell the story of what happened back then in the 70s from your perspective. I'll tell it from my perspective. We were both young men then, and then I'll intercut the two. I think that what I love about that, and the film is utterly wonderful. I'd like to show a wee bit of what I love about that story is that it shows that one way of capturing reality is just being so open. If we were working in conventional Western ways where you're scheduled and you've got location booked next week and you've got your actors coming and blah blah blah, you couldn't just say, right, fuck it, trash that, I'm going with this. And that's what they did. The film is a masterpiece, and what is revealed in the film is extraordinary. The policeman's story tells how there was a girl at that time who he was really in love with. She used to come to see him every day. He was really in love with. Makhmalbaf, in his version of the story, reveals that the girl was working with Makhmalbaf to distract the policeman who was guarding the Shah's house or something like that. So she pretended to be in love with the policeman, never was. She was part of the plot. So in the course of making the film, the policeman discovers something devastating that breaks his heart, that one of the women he loved most in the world didn't love him back. And that's revealed in the film, and this is a reality from the past that comes out as a result of this incredibly open, labile, free-form filmmaking. Isn't that just what I just love it. This film showed at 150 film festivals and won, I think, 40 prizes. And I show it often to students, and it's only 70 minutes long or something, and it wows them because of that. It tells you that thing there, you must treat it with as light as a feather, mustn't you? And someone absolutely respond. The great French director Jean Renoir said it. You must always leave a door open on the set for unpredictable reality to come in. And this is exactly what Malbaf did. And I think this film is the best example I know that demonstrates. I bet you the film he would have made would have been quite boring compared to this extraordinary film. And it's really funny. You see the policeman sort of high. Policeman's quite a plain looking guy, shall we say, and he's casting, and he's all casting really pretty guys just to be him, and also there's loads of really funny stuff going on, you know. So I might show a little clip of that.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just what an interesting, what a you know. I'm pausing for thought now because I'm just trying to take this all in. It is really incredible. It is really.
Because the thing that struck me, I suppose, is when you're saying, you know, the way, you know, it's a real transparent way of making the film, which you don't have in the West here. But even in the way then when we present the film, that's never transparent either, because it's always got a voiceover, and it always says any kind of documentary now, and all the Channel 4 shop docs and stuff, they're all the same. They'll kind of say, no, this is Dave. He lives in a flat in that, and you know, and it's.
And they tell you what you're seeing.
They completely tell you what you're seeing, and
Dave
it's
is
all
making a cup of tea.
Yeah, and it's all like.
You see Dave making a cup of tea.
And it's all, yeah, I say it's all just cut, but I mean to have that transparency in an actual presentation of just kind of intercutting, and that's something I'd love to see in day-to-day news in the future, because you think how much on the 6 o'clock news, how much footage we see isn't actually the BBC's footage, it's AP footage, RBA footage.
Yes,
and we're never told that.
No.
We're never told that, you know, cutaways are the great kind of illusion of TV news, aren't they? That they're not real, and you know, I think they're great in the future.
I think something because of the news cycle, you're going out knowing what you're going to get and knowing what you want. Yeah. So you're going out to tell a story of how the snow and the bad weather is bringing villages to the halt.
Yeah.
So you're going looking for that story. This is what I'm looking for. So you're not really looking. You know, and say you went out there and something else happened that was absolutely not related to the. You need to phone back and say, look, can I do another story? And I'll give you this, and there's that kind of overdetermined sense of what you're looking for. You know, I think which is understandable. Part of the news cycle. They've got slots to fill. They've got a 6 o'clock bulletin, a 10. Understandable.
It's the news is kind of crafted to fit the production method and the constraints of the production.
And cost as well. All sorts of like those things. But